Today's episode of the More You Know podcast is brought to you by CrowdQuestion, a brand new social communication platform focused on connecting crowds to bring everyone closer to their community, as well as enhancing any occasion. Rather than being a social media platform focused on content and advertising, they're focused on communication and connection. Learn more about the platform and download the app free at crowdquestion.com.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
Today's
More
You
No
podcast.
Today I want to share Les Schwab's journey to significance. So Leslie Schwab was born in Bend, Oregon in 1917. He came from humble beginnings and was schooled in a railroad boxcar that his mother taught at. And while in high school at the age of 15, Schwab and his three siblings became orphans due to both of his parents dying within months. His mother died of pneumonia, and his alcoholic father was found dead in front of a moonshine bar. At this point, his aunt and uncle offered to take him in, but Les chose instead to rent a room in a boarding house for $15 a month. In order to pay his rent, he began delivering the Oregon Journal newspaper while attending high school, and within a couple years, he eventually covered all 9 routes in Bend, and was out earning his high school principal. He then graduated high school in 1935, and married his high school sweetheart Dorothy in 1936. They then had their first child in 1940, and at this point Schwab became the circulation manager for the Bend newspaper, The Bulletin. And upon the United States joining the Allies in World War II in 1942, Les joined the Army Air Corps, which he served in all throughout World War II. Then once the war was over and he got discharged, he bought an OK Rubber Welders franchise in Prineville, Oregon in 1952. He was 34 at this point with a pregnant wife and an 11-year-old son, never even having fixed a flat tire. But by the end of the first year, he improved the sales from 32,000 to 150,000, a nearly 5-fold increase in sales. Then in his second year in the business, he opened his second store, and then opened his third store in the third year. From there in his fourth year in 1956, he decided to change the name of the business to Les Schwab Tire Centers, and drop the OK franchise. At this point his tire empire began to grow, and he had 34 stores in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho by 1971. Unfortunately, also in 1971, his son Harlan died in an automobile accident, but he continued to carry on. His tire empire continued to grow, and he continued to find success leading his company until the late 1980s when he gave up day-to-day control of the company. And even though he gave up day-to-day control, the company continued to reach new heights. And by 2007, there were 410 stores in the western United States, and they brought in $1.6 billion in annual sales. But unfortunately, during this time in the mid-2000s, his daughter also died of cancer. And then in 2007, Les died at the age of 89. Les Schwab is a great example of the American dream. He came from incredibly humble beginnings, then becoming an orphan who had to support himself at the age of 15. But he managed to graduate high school and then joined the Army in World War II. Then after his time serving in World War II, he ventured into the tire business, eventually building a billion-dollar empire. And while doing so, showed you can put employees and customers first, and don't need to go public with your company to find great success. Overall, what Les Schwab encompasses is the average man who can come from humble beginnings and find great success providing great value to the world. I hope this talk makes a positive impact in your life. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening or watching it. Check out other episodes. Leave a review. Follow the podcast on social media at More You Know Pod, and sign up for CrowdQuestion to ask me questions about the episode. Again, thank you for listening as we propel through podcasting with the More You Know.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
Today's
More
You
No
podcast.